Okay, what I want to talk about is in the programming this week, we have our little plyo course. So as it stands, obviously it'll be set up. You'll kind of have a higher option and a lesser option, if you will. But what I want to talk about is so why are we doing a plyo course? Is it because it's fun? Because it is. Is it because it's going to help you jump higher? Maybe. Is it because it's going to help you translate to other positions and quickly extend your hips? Yes, this is also true. So kind of all three of those things go together, and the idea being it's pretty athletic as it stands. So if you're not very good at it, it's not a big deal. There's a million different ways you can go about it, but there's a few different ways everybody's going to get something out of it. So the first thing I want to think about, or I want you guys to think about, is if I'm going to jump on top of this box, and I was going to do a weighted box jumps per se, the cue is always, okay, arms straight, hips back, load. So if you were to check this position out, it's going to look like a few different things. My feet are flat, my hamstrings are loaded, my shoulders are back and together, my eyes are kind of out on the horizon, and then from there I can do a number of different things. In this instance, like you're going to be doing in the plyo course, we're going to be jumping up on top, up on top of the box. Now, the other thing you want to think about is I'm trying to elevate my hips when I jump on top of a box, not just bring my knees up really high. So again, if you go from the side here, the idea is I'm going to try and bring my hips to this height. So then it's going to be load, right? And I land in an active ready position, almost the same thing I kind of jumped from. Rather than just bringing my knees up, which is not a jump anymore. That's just how fast can I bring my knees to the top of the box. So if you're like, hey, that's how I do my box jumps or whatever, there's a few things to think about. One, when we do an exercise like a kettlebell swing, and why we don't necessarily do kettlebell swings overhead anymore, or very often I should say, is not because it's a bad movement, it's just not as effective to train other movements. So if I want to set up there, okay, yes, my feet are a little bit farther apart, my hands are set now, and then when I get to the start of my kettlebell swing, very similar, right? So my hamstrings are loaded, my eyes are obviously down just a little bit more, but from there, I'm able to snap my hips, and then the momentum carries into my arms. Same thing, I'm here, I load my hips, I extend my hips, the momentum carries into my arms. So think about how a kettlebell swing and a box jump are kind of on the same page there. So what I want you to start thinking about is, why is that movement, why am I really bad at that, but why am I also really bad at jumping on a box? Or why am I really good at kettlebell swings but suck at jumping on a box? So they're the same movement, is what I want you to take away from this. The other thing I want you guys to think about is when it comes to this movement jumping, if you will, is how it translated into a clean. So the idea, if I was setting up, I'm standing nice and tall with the bar at my hip, let's say I was going to load to my hang position, and I stick my butt back. Now again, I'm in a very similar position again. So my hamstrings are tight. This is a little different only because I have to keep the bar a little closer to my body, but I'm in the same position where I'm trying to create upward momentum via my hips. So what I want you to take away from that is a box jump, a kettlebell swing, hang clean, clean from the floor also, because you're doing the same thing, you're just going from the floor, are all very similar in nature because I'm trying to create hip extension, okay? Now the other thing to take away as far as the plyo course is how to land, right? We kind of talked about bringing your hips up rather than bringing your knees up high. So the idea is the higher you can land means the higher you jumped off the box. Now let's just say you did a really good job of jumping high, but what we don't want to necessarily see is you land on the balls of your feet or anything like that. So what we don't want is, okay, I jump, right? A, not very safe, kind of a sketchy landing position. And two, I'm still really far forward. So I never actually extended my hip when I did that jump either. So things to take away, one, obviously we're going to have a higher plyo course, a lower plyo course, and you'll be able to kind of zigzag in and out depending on the heights that work for you. But the biggest thing to take away is, one, when I'm loading, am I loading into a hang position, a kettlebell swing position? Two, am I landing with my feet flat, with my hips higher than where they started? So those are two things you want to take away. Jumping, landing, they're almost very, very similar in nature because one is, the extension and then the other is the receiving of that position again. So think about, when you're going through this plyo course, how much hip extension am I getting? Not how fast am I bringing my knees up. Does that kind of make sense? I think so, I hope so. I know it was a little rambly, but Hopefully that'll make sense. If you have questions, hit me up.